The summer sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the bustling streets of their small town. Emma stood by her bedroom window, staring out at the world that seemed so far away from her own. The echo of laughter from children playing in the park mixed with the distant hum of music, a stark contrast to the silence enveloping her room. With each passing day, she felt more like a ghost drifting through the halls of her own life, an unseen observer in the backdrop of a family filled with new dynamics and weighted expectations. Her mother's recent marriage had turned her once quiet home into a whirlwind of chaos. Emma had thought that she would welcome a new father figure. Instead, she found herself grappling with a complicated relationship with her stepbrother Jake. It was an odd arrangement that made her heart race in ways she couldn't explain. From the moment he stepped into her life, everything changed. He was charming, funny, and effortlessly charismatic, stark contrast to her own quiet demeanor. "Emma!" A voice yanked her from her reverie. It was her mother, calling out from the kitchen, where the delicious scent of freshly baked cookies wafted through the air. "Come help me with dessert." With a sigh, Emma turned away from the window. She had hoped to lose herself in her art today, but it looked like family duties awaited her. As she reluctantly made her way downstairs, she caught a glimpse of Jake in the living room, a comfortable lopsided grin on his face as he sprawled out on the couch, a comic book open in his hands. "Hey, Supergirl, ready to save the day in the kitchen?" he teased, setting the scene for yet another playful jab at her tendency to avoid household chores. "Very funny, Captain Obvious," Emma shot back, rolling her eyes, though a smile tugged at her lips. It was typical banter between them, a blend of sibling rivalry and an inexplicable bond that simmered beneath the surface. Yet under the light-hearted atmosphere lay a deep well of emotions, confusion, attraction, and an almost palpable tension that neither of them acknowledged. Emma shook her head, trying to dispel the thoughts swirling in her mind. What was happening to her? Why did the playful jabs make her heart race? It was maddening to feel this way about someone who was supposed to be just her brother. As she joined her mother in the kitchen, Emma's thoughts drifted back to the odd object she had discovered in her closet the previous night. It was a simple wooden box, intricately carved, almost like a piece of art in itself. She had found it tucked snugly between stacks of old clothes. Her heart raced with curiosity. The box had reminded her of something juvenile, a keepsake from childhood that held forgotten treasures. Her mother glanced at Emma, eyebrow raised. "You look lost in thought. Everything okay?" "Yeah, just thinking," Emma replied, though she felt a twinge of guilt for withholding the truth. The thrill of the unknown was intoxicating, and she realized she wanted to share it with someone, namely Jake. He had a knack for storytelling, and she longed for his insight on what it might contain. "Are you going to help me or just stand there daydreaming?" her mother quipped, snapping her back to reality. With a smile, Emma began to assist with the preparations, but her mind was elsewhere. The thought of revealing the box to Jake snuck into her thoughts repeatedly. If anyone could make sense of it would be him. Once the cookies were baked and cooling on the countertop, Emma found herself wandering back to her room. The sunlight slanted through her window, pooling on the floor in soft patches. She sat cross-legged on her bed, the box resting in her lap like a silent enigma waiting to be unveiled. Just then, the door swung open, and Jake sauntered in, half curious and half excited. "What's this, then? A treasure hunt?" he winked, plopping down next to her without invitation. Before she could answer, he reached for the box, his fingers brushing against hers in a moment that sent a jolt of unexpected electricity through her. "What do we have here?" His voice was a teasing whisper, yet his expression was genuine, intrigued. "I found it in my closet," Emma said, biting her lip to suppress a nervous flutter. "I thought it was just junk, but I don't know, it feels special." "Special how?" Jake leaned closer, and Emma felt the warmth radiating off him, a palpable force that made her heart race. "I don't know, there's an aura about it, like it holds memories or secrets," Emma admitted, her heart racing as she spoke. "I thought maybe we could open it together." Jake raised an eyebrow, a playful smirk dancing on his lips. "Let's do it. Maybe it's filled with comic books and gold coins, or..." He leaned in conspiratorially. "Old love letters?" Stop, Emma laughed, shoving him away playfully. You're such a dork. He chuckled, and the sound echoed through her room like music, a reminder of the fun times they once had as kids. It was moments like these, filled with laughter and lightness, that made her wish there was more between them. Yet she felt caged by societal expectations and familial roles. As they sat together, Emma felt a rush of emotions, nervousness, excitement, and the undeniable bond forming between them. Slowly, she opened the box, revealing a collection of carefully folded notes, old photographs, and trinkets that seemed to tell stories of days gone by. Jake leaned in closer, and they both gasped at the sight. "Wow, this is amazing! Look at this!" he exclaimed, picking up an old photograph of a child's birthday party. "Is that us?" Emma squinted at the faded image, a grin breaking out across her face. "I think it is. I remember that day." As they reminisced over the contents of the box, discussing each memory with laughter and sincerity, Emma felt a shift in their relationship. It was more than just playful banter. They were unlocking pieces of their past, piecing together fragments of who they were and who they could become. But just as their laughter filled the room, a silence fell between them as Jake picked up a note that had slipped beneath the photographs. Her heart raced one glance at him, and she could tell he felt something shift too. "What's this?" He unfolded the note, his brow furrowing. Emma leaned in closer, suddenly breathless. Jake began to read aloud, and with each word, the air in the room thickened, a startling revelation that they were entering uncharted territory, grounding their connection even deeper. As the last words spilled from his lips, a thrill coursed through Emma, an undeniable knowledge that their bond was about to evolve into something they had never anticipated. "Looks like we have a treasure map after all," Jake said softly, locking eyes with her. In that moment, Emma knew this was just the beginning of something greater, something neither of them could fully understand yet. But they were ready to explore, and she found herself eager for whatever surprises lay ahead, knowing she wouldn't have to face them alone. Secrets and surprises. The afternoon sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across Emma's room, where remnants of discovery still lingered. The mysterious box sat open on her bed, its contents sprawled across the fabric in disarray. But the whispers of their unspoken secrets had ignited something profound, a spark of curiosity and connection that Emma had never felt before. "Can you believe all this?" Jake asked, his voice tinged with awe as he examined an old drawing of a treehouse they had built as children, a fort that had been their sanctuary from the world. The faint scent of pine and earth flooded her senses, bringing back memories of laughter and imagination where they could dream without boundaries. Emma smiled at the memory, yet her heart beat erratically with the weight of uncharted emotions. "It feels like we've unearthed part of our childhood," she replied, her fingers subconsciously brushing against the soft paper of the photograph. "Like we've been given a chance to remember who we used to be." Jake glanced up, meeting her gaze, and for a moment, time seemed to stand still. They were no longer just step-siblings caught in a new family dynamic. They were two souls intertwined by shared experiences, standing on the precipice of something deeper and more meaningful. "I wonder if there are any more secrets to uncover," he mused, his eyes scanning the remnants of their past. "What? If there's something we haven't found yet, a hidden treasure?" His voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper, adding an air of excitement to the discovery. Emma's heart raced. The thought of more hidden treasures stoked the fire of her curiosity, igniting an adventurous spirit that had long lain dormant within her. "Let's look for more," she suggested, her voice almost breathless. "What if we went through the attic? There's bound to be more stuff up there." Jake's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. "Now that sounds like a plan. The attic is basically a treasure chest." They both jumped to their feet, their sibling rivalry momentarily set aside as the thrill of exploration coursed through them. Before they could change their minds, they bounded down the hallway, Jake playfully shoving her as they raced each other to the stairs. The attic stairs creaked ominously as they ascended, adding an extra layer of suspense to their quest. Dust motes danced in the air, illuminated by slants of golden light that filtered through the small window, giving the space an almost magical quality. Boxes piled high, shrouded in blankets and forgotten memories, awaited their exploration. Where? Should we start? Jake asked, looking around with an eager expression that brought a smile to Emma's face. Emma pointed to a stack of boxes, their edges softened by age but bursting with potential. Let's start there. Who knows what we might find? As they began sifting through the boxes, each item they uncovered told a story, old toys, faded letters, and even a few trinkets that prompted bursts of laughter as they exchanged tales from their youth. The attic became alive with memories. Each discovery pulled them closer together. "What's this?" Jake exclaimed as he held up a small music box, its surface scratched but still glinting in the light. "I remember Mom used to play this for us when we were little." "Me too." Emma's eyes widened in recognition as she took it from him gently. She wound the small mechanism, and the soft, melodic tune filled the space, wrapping around them like a warm blanket. I can almost hear her laughter. It feels like home. Jake stepped closer, captivated by the note of nostalgia that permeated the attic air. "This music box was our song," he said softly. The moment hung between them, laden with unsaid emotions and lingering glances that hinted at something deeper yet unresolved. The atmosphere shifted as their laughter faded, replaced by a quiet tension that hummed along with the melody. Emma's heartbeat quickened, and for an instant, she felt as if the world had shrunk down to just the two of them, standing together among the artifacts of their shared past. "What else is in here?" Jake asked, breaking the spell, and they resumed their search. But something had changed. An unspoken understanding lingered in the air, making their playful explorations feel heavier, more significant. As they continued, their hands brushed against each other occasionally, sending small shivers down her spine. Every touch was electric. Every exchange a reminder that beneath their banter lay feelings neither dared to openly acknowledge. Eventually, nestled in a dusty corner, they found an unmarked box that felt surprisingly heavy. "What do you think is in there?" Emma asked, her curiosity piqued once more as they both reached for it. With a grunt, Jake carefully lifted the box onto a nearby chair, and they both leaned in closer, excitement palpable. Emma's breath caught in her throat as Jake pulled off the lid. Inside lay an assortment of items: books, art supplies, and something that glinted like jewelry. "Whoa! Look at this!" Jake exclaimed, pulling out a delicate silver bracelet. "It's beautiful." He held it up, letting it catch the light before turning it toward Emma. "I think it might have belonged to your mom." Emma's heart raced as she reached for the bracelet, running her fingers over its cool surface. "I've never seen this before. I wonder why it was up here." Worry creased her brow. Mom must have put it away for a reason. Jake could sense her hesitation. "Maybe it's time to ask her about it." He paused, glancing at her. "You know how to do that, right? Ask her?" Emma nodded, though the thought of confronting her mother about hidden memories filled her with unease. Their relationship was already so complicated. Unearthing long-buried treasures could lead to more turmoil. "I mean, it's beautiful," Jake continued. "But maybe there are other memories tied to it? Something we could explore together? Not just the bracelet, but everything it signifies." Emma's heart swelled at his words. He was always so attuned to her feelings, his understanding almost unsettling. "You really think so?" she asked, feeling vulnerable. "Absolutely. We're in this together, right?" His smile was reassuring, a beacon amidst the confusion. "Right," Emma agreed, finding comfort in the shared connection that had blossomed between them. Reluctantly, she placed the bracelet back in the box, knowing she would have to gather the courage to speak to her mother soon. But for now, amidst the dust and debris of memories, Emma felt alive, propelled by the thrill of discovery, bolstered by Jake's presence. As they continued to rummage through the box, they stumbled upon a dusty journal, its cover cracked with age. "What's this?" Jake asked, pulling it out and flicking through the pages. "Looks like it might be a diary," Emma said cautiously. "Should we read it?" Jake hesitated, his brow furrowing. "Do you think it's okay? It's kind of private It's part of our search, Emma argued, intrigued by the prospect of discovering more secrets about their family, desperate to understand the ties that bound them. If it tells a story we should know? With a nod of agreement, Jake turned to the first page and began to read aloud, his voice steady and calm as he unraveled the thoughts of a bygone era. As the words painted vivid images of laughter, dreams, and long-lost aspirations, Emma felt a wave of nostalgia wash over her. But then Jake's brow furrowed deeper as he read a passage that shifted the atmosphere instantly. "Love is complex, and I fear that it may always remain a secret," he read, his voice lowering as he continued. "For the happiness of my children, I must carry these thoughts alone." Emma's heart skipped a beat. What? What does it mean?" she asked urgently. Jake paused, glancing at her, the weight of the revelation heavy between them. "I don't know, but it sounds like there's more to explore. More about our family than we realized." The urgency in Emma's veins pulsed as the thrill of the unknown beckoned. Secrets were looming in the shadows, unveiling deeper mysteries around her family, and she felt compelled to seek the truth. What if we found more diaries, more stories waiting to be told? Jake nodded, his eyes lighting up with possibility. "We have to. There's a whole history here, and it's just waiting for us to uncover it." With renewed determination, they plunged deeper into the attic. Emma's heart raced with excitement and fear dichotomy that left her breathless. The search for their family's secrets had become an adventure, intertwining their lives even further. As they sifted through boxes, uncovering bits and pieces of their collective past, an unspoken bond grew a promise that they would navigate these complexities together, but not without the tension that threatened to burst forth at any moment. Each discovery layered a new thread into their relationship, binding them closer together as they ventured into the unknown. Finally, as they prepared to leave the attic, Jake looked over at Emma, his eyes glinting with that familiar boyish charm. "Are you ready for what's next?" Her heart raced, and though they both stood on the edge of a precipice filled with uncertainty, excitement simmered just beneath the surface. "Absolutely," she replied, determination filling her voice. Little did they know, the adventure they had just begun would reveal far more than hidden family secrets. It would expose the depths of their own emotions and the possibilities that lay ahead. The heart of the matter. The attic felt different after their revelations, a realm of secrets transformed into a sanctuary of possibilities. Emma and Jake had spent the entire afternoon sifting through artifacts from their past, yet the lingering weight of uncertainty hung heavily over them. With the fading sunlight casting an ethereal glow through the attic window, the discovery of the diary had set the stage for something bigger. They felt as if they were on the brink of unveiling a family mystery that was bound to change everything. "Maybe we should start writing down everything we've found," Jake suggested, his fingers absent-mindedly tracing the grain of the wooden journal. "That way we can keep track of all the stories. We'll have our own treasure map of memories." Emma nodded, excitement bubbling within her. "That's a great idea. If we document our findings, we might be able to piece together the bigger picture. Plus, it'll be fun to look back on this later." With a shared smile, they made their way back downstairs. The aroma of cookies still lingered in the air, a comforting reminder of simpler times. But as they moved closer to a deeper understanding of their family's past, the weight of their discoveries pressed heavily on Emma. Seated at the kitchen table, they pulled out a notebook, Emma scribbling down notes while Jake flipped open the diary to read more of its entries. "It's almost like we're detectives," he said, a playful smirk on his face as he glanced up at her. "Trying to solve the mystery of our family." "Detective Jake at your service," he joked, striking a mock heroic pose that made Emma laugh. And for a moment, all the tension between them faded into the background, a refreshing oasis amidst the swirling emotions that had been building. But as Jake continued to read, a sudden shift engulfed the room, tension weaving itself back into the air. "Here's another entry," he said, his voice lower and more serious. "It's dated a few years ago." He cleared his throat, preparing to read aloud. "Sometimes I wonder if keeping secrets is the best way to protect those we love, or if it only serves to isolate us further. Love is meant to be shared, but I fear that honesty may only lead to more pain." Emma's breath hitched, The weight of those words hung like a fog in the air, and she could see a flicker of concern flash in Jake's eyes. "What do you think that means?" he asked, looking up from the pages, his brow furrowed in contemplation. "I don't know," Emma replied, suddenly feeling as if they were unearthing something too powerful for them to handle. "It sounds like our mother struggled with something that affected her entire life." "But what?" Just then, Emma's phone buzzed on the table, shattering the heavy silence. She picked it up to see a message from her mother asking where they were. "We should probably head back downstairs before she comes looking for us," Emma suggested, her heart racing at the thought of discussing the diary with her mother. Jake nodded, his gaze still thoughtful. "Yeah, but what if we confront her? I mean, we deserve to know what's going on in our family, don't we?" The determination in his voice was palpable, and Emma felt a surge of courageous energy coursing through her veins. "I know, but I'm scared," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "What if we uncover something that changes how we see everything?" Jake reached out, placing a reassuring hand on her arm. "Then we tackle it together. We're in this as a team, right? No matter how tough it gets." Emma took a deep breath, nodding slowly. "Right. Together." With their hearts pounding, they made their way downstairs, the atmosphere in the house more charged than ever. Each step felt like walking into the eye of a storm, and the anticipation was both thrilling and nerve-wracking. Would their mother confront them about their findings? Would she be receptive or defensive? As they entered the living room, the soft glow of the table lamp illuminated their mother, who was flipping through a stack of mail. "There you two are. I was wondering where you'd gone off to. Did you find anything interesting?" She looked up, a cautious light in her eyes. Emma and Jake exchanged glances, the unspoken knowledge passing between them. They took a moment to gather their thoughts. Should they reveal their discoveries now, or should they ease into the conversation carefully? We did find some old things in the attic," Emma said, her voice steady despite the throbbing in her chest, "including some journal entries." "Oh." Her mother's eyebrows knitted together, and Emma could see a flicker of apprehension cross her features. "What kind of entries?" Jake stepped forward, bold and unyielding. "They were about family, secrets, and struggles. They seemed personal. We were hoping you could help us understand them." Emma watched as her mother's expression shifted, emotions flickering behind her eyes. She opened her mouth to respond, but the words seemed to catch in her throat, a moment of hesitation that felt like an eternity. I think it's important for you both to know that there are things in our past that are sensitive. Stories I've kept to protect you." "Protect us from what?" Jake interjected, his tone earnest yet laced with urgency. "From the truth? We're old enough to handle it." Emma felt the tension crackle in the air. As much as she wanted to advocate for the truth, she also felt the weight of her mother's protective instincts. There was a fine line between curiosity and hurt, and she wasn't sure which side she'd fall on. Her mother took a deep breath, forcing a reassuring smile that didn't reach her eyes. "What's in those journals can be painful, but it's also part of who we are. I didn't want to burden you with something I wasn't sure you were ready for." "Ready for what?" Emma's voice was firmer than she intended. "Don't you trust us to handle it?" Her mother's gaze softened, filled with the kind of sorrow that told Emma there was more underneath the surface than she could grasp. "It's not about trust. It's about hurt. The past can be a heavy burden. I've carried it alone for too long." The tension in the room thickened with the weight of her mother's unspoken pain. Emma felt as if the walls were closing in, the room pulsing with hidden truths waiting to be unleashed. "We can't keep living like this," she said, her voice steady but filled with concern. "If there are things we need to know, then we want to know. We deserve that right." Her mother's eyes glistened, and Emma could see the struggle within her. "You're right," she finally said, her voice trembling. "Perhaps it's time to share, but please remember, what you hear might not just be stories. They can rattle the core of what you believe about our family." Emma and Jake exchanged glances, both nervous yet resolute. "We're ready," Jake said, his determination fortifying Emma's own. Let's face it together, as a family. With a deep breath, their mother nodded, and Emma knew they were crossing a threshold. This was a moment that could shape their future, or shatter their perceptions of family. She felt the weight of every unspoken word, every unshared secret, pulling them toward an uncertain but inevitable truth. As they gathered around the kitchen table, the air filled with apprehension, Emma knew they were about to embark on a journey that would forever redefine their relationships and expose the secrets that had obscured their family history. "Before we begin," her mother said, her voice soft yet firm, "there's something each of you should know about the past we've shared and the love that has lingered, even through struggle. It's about time we finally let the light in." As she began to speak, Emma could feel her heart quickening, the anticipation electrifying the air between them. Every word would unravel layers of the family story that had remained hidden and unknown. Emma clutched the table, her eyes intent on her mother, ready to delve into the chronicles of their family's resilience and pain, knowing the journey ahead would be as thrilling as it was daunting, an unbreakable bond as. They settled in around the kitchen table, the atmosphere thick with anticipation. Emma's heart felt like a drum echoing in her chest. The wood beneath her palms was cool, grounding her as she prepared for the revelations that lay ahead. Jake sat to her left, a supportive presence, his eyes encouraging as they exchanged glances filled with unspoken promise. Their mother took a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly as she placed the diary in front of them. "This diary was never just mine. It belongs to our family's history. Each entry contains pieces of who we were, what we've endured, and most importantly, what we've learned." Emma leaned closer, her heart racing as her mother turned to the first page. "The stories in here may unveil the complex portrait of love, loss, and hardship that has shaped our family. It will not be easy, but we must face it together." Jake's hand brushed against Emma's arm, a comforting gesture that set her heart ablaze. "We're ready," he reaffirmed, his tone resolute and steady, cutting through the tension that filled the room. Their mother nodded, a faint smile pulling at the corners of her mouth, but it faltered as she began to read. July 15th, 1998. "Today was the hardest day of my life. I lost my sister in an accident, and the pain is unbearable." She hesitated, looking up to gauge Emma and Jake's reactions, searching for their strength amidst the weight of her emotions. "It devastated our family, tearing us apart in ways I could never have imagined." Emma swallowed hard, picturing her mother as a young woman grappling with profound grief. She felt a sadness swell in her chest, intertwining with the curiosity that had brought her to the table seeking answers. "The loss shifted everything," her mother continued, voice rich with emotion. "My parents struggled to hold us together, but the silence became deafening. Secrets festered, unspoken truths left unaddressed. I buried myself in my studies and thought, convinced that if I could perform well enough, I could somehow redeem our family's brokenness." A sudden chill coursed through Emma, recognizing her mother's struggle and how it mirrored her own insecurities. It was as if they shared a bond deeper than blood and unspoken understanding of the weight of expectation. "Mom," Emma ventured softly, "did you ever talk to anyone?" Her heart ached for the younger version of her mother, silently shouldering the burden of grief alone. "No," her mother replied, shaking her head sorrowfully. "I was lost, feeling like I had to be strong for everyone else. But it was in this silence that I found my greatest regrets." "Regrets?" Jake pressed, his expression serious. "What do you mean?" "There's more," her mother continued, turning another page. "As I navigated life without my sister, I aimed to create a perfect family of my own to compensate for what I lost. And when I married your father, it was a promise to myself to build a life steeped in joy." She paused, emotions welling in her eyes. But life had other plans. The room fell silent, the weight of her words hanging in the air like a fragile glass ornament. Emma's heart raced, a myriad of emotions colliding within her. She glanced at Jake, who appeared equally committed to unraveling the tale. Their mother was sharing pieces of herself that had long been hidden clues to the family tapestry that had shaped them, perhaps even the threads that still bound them tightly together. As their mother continued, the tales spun from her lips painted, a rich tapestry woven with sadness, resilience, and fleeting moments of happiness. There were times of joy, too, she added wistfully. Years when our hearts were filled with laughter and we believed we could overcome any challenge. But beneath the joy lay a current of unresolved grief, uncommunicated fears. Did it ever get better? Emma asked, her voice trembling. Not until I realized that silence was suffocating us, her mother admitted. I learned that love doesn't just thrive in smiles, but needs honesty, understanding, and sometimes painful conversations. Jake leaned forward, intrigued. What about the diary? Did you write about your love life? What about Dad? Her mother laughed softly, eyes brightening momentarily. Yes, it was a time filled with youthful dreams and hopes, but love can become complicated too. The deeper I dug into my feelings, the more layers I uncovered. At times, I felt as if I were drowning beneath my expectations. Emma felt a pang of fear shoot through her. Should they have been reading this? Each revelation added pressure to the atmosphere, tightening their familial bonds while threatening to pull them apart. It was exhilarating, yet terrifying. Keep going, Mom, Jake urged gently, seeking the clarity they all yearned for. All right, I'll skip to a more recent entry, she said, searching through the pages. Here. I've tried so hard to be the mother I needed, yet I know I've kept many burdens hidden. I now see the shadows lurk in the corners, and I fear those shadows have darkened our home. What do you mean? Emma asked, worry creeping into her thoughts. What shadows? Her mother looked at them, eyes glistening. Shadows of my own doubts and the repercussions of unshared burdens. They translate into the expectations I placed on you both, putting you in a box of who I thought you should be. I see now how that can stifle your own light. Emma's heart began to race. Mom, I felt that pressure. I didn't want to disappoint you, but... She hesitated, biting her lip. But it pushed me away, too. Taking a deep breath, her mother nodded. I know. I'm so sorry. I lost sight of what was most important, to love you unconditionally and allow you to discover your own paths. That's why I've hesitated to share these secrets, to avoid burdening you with history. But the truth is, every family has shadows, Jake interjected gently. But it's only in confronting those shadows that we can truly find light, right? Exactly, their mother said, smiling through tears. Your bond with one another, your strength stems from understanding where we all come from. Mom, Emma said, her voice shaky yet resolute, can we make a pact, a commitment to share our lives openly, to confront the secrets together as a family? Their mother looked both surprised and relieved. That's a beautiful idea. Emma, yes. I'd like nothing more. Jake piped in. Then let's start right now, with whatever it is that's still waiting for us. Emma was taken aback. With every page turned, honesty spilled forth, unveiling the complexity of love and loss. And just as the weighty revelations began to settle, a new thought struck her. What about those family letters we found in the attic? The ones promising to explain our lineage? Their mother's expression shifted, the warmth fading momentarily. Those were left behind by my mother. They contain the history of our family's struggles, years of hardships that shaped us. It was she who believed in the need for honesty, even when it was painful. The very foundation of Emma's thoughts trembled. Then we need to read them. That can illuminate everything. It'll tie the loose ends together. Their mother paused, the hesitation apparent. I've kept those letters buried for a reason, though. They contain stories that can shake you, feelings of betrayal, love, and choices made in desperation. Then, let's confront them together, Jake pressed, confidence ringing in his voice. We need to break the cycle of silence that binds us. We can't do it through shadows anymore. Emma watched her mother's resolve wane, but then found a glimmer of hope in her eyes. All right then, let's find those letters. It's time to face everything we've hidden. As they rose from the table, preparing to venture back into the attic, the air thickened with anticipation. Despite the fear gnawing at Emma's heart, she felt an undeniable strength forming among them. a unity that promised to change how they communicated and defined their family bonds. As they retreated back, up the stairs into the attic, the gravity of their exploration sunk in deeper, weaving an unbreakable thread between them. Would they emerge from this endeavor understanding one another? Or would some truths cut even deeper than anticipated? The attic was darker now, shadows flickering with every movement, and as they began searching through dusty boxes, the air grew thick with suspense. Each letter they unearthed held the potential for catharsis or chaos. Suddenly, Jake shouted, "I found something!" He held up an envelope, aged but intact. The words, "To my beloved children," were scrawled across the front in elegant script. Emma's heartbeat quickened. They had unearthed the very first thread that would navigate their family tapestry, the beginning of an adventure that might yield cascading secrets and stories. With trembling hands, her mother took the envelope, and for a fleeting moment they stood together, souls entwined, hovering at the brink of revelation. "Here we go," she whispered, her voice steady as she tore it open, unveiling the first words of a bygone-era words that could unravel everything they thought they knew. As she began to read, the air thickened with anticipation, and in that moment, all three of them understood that whatever lay written on those pages could illuminate their past while forging a new future, together beyond secrets, beyond shadows, more bound than ever before.